In Genesis 14, Abraham meets Melchizedek, who is described as king of Salem, traditionally identified with Jerusalem, priest of God Most High, Hebrew El Elyon. He blesses Abraham. Abraham gives him a tenth of the spoils. The text presents no conflict between Abraham's worship and Melchizedek's worship. Before the name Yahweh is revealed to Moses, God is called by several titles: El Elyon, God Most High; El Shaddai, God Almighty; El Roi, God Who Sees Me. Abraham himself uses these names. In Exodus 6:2-3, God says, open quote, I appeared to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob as El Shaddai, but by my name Yahweh I was not known to them. Close quote. Many scholars understand this as progressive revelation, the same God revealing more of his identity over time. Many biblical scholars argue that El and Yahweh came to be understood as the same God in Israel's religion. Earlier Northwest Semitic peoples used El as the generic word for God and also as the name of the chief deity. Israel identified Yahweh with El rather than treating them as separate gods. This is one major scholarly explanation. Some scholars argue there was an older tradition centered on El before the rise of later Canaanite religion. The evidence includes early Semitic names, Melchizedek's worship, ancient inscriptions, the use of El titles throughout Genesis. However, saying this religion was fully monotheistic is debated. Many scholars instead describe it as monolatry, worship of one god, henotheism, one supreme god acknowledged above others, or evolving monotheism. The Amorites were a major ancient Semitic people who became influential in Mesopotamia, Syria, Canaan. They ruled places including Babylon at various times. Their religion included the deity Amuru, also called Martu. The idea that they introduced or accelerated changes in Canaanite religion is discussed by some historians, although religion almost certainly developed through multiple cultural influences rather than one single event. Archaeology has shown that Asherah was widely worshipped in ancient Israel. Examples include Asherah poles, inscriptions mentioning Yahweh and his Asherah, household figurines, cultic objects. The Bible repeatedly condemns this worship. For example, Deuteronomy 16:21 commands Israel not to plant an Asherah beside Yahweh's altar. Jezebel promotes the worship of Baal and Asherah. Manasseh places an Asherah image in the temple. Josiah removes and destroys these objects during his reforms. The biblical writers consistently present this as covenant violation. In Judges there are references to El-Berith, God of the covenant, Baal-Berith, Lord of the covenant. Many scholars think it's a shift in local religious practice, where titles formerly associated with El became attached to Baal. In Genesis 15:16, God tells Abraham, open quote, the iniquity of the Amorites is not yet complete, close quote. The Bible does not define that iniquity specifically. Some scholars interpret it generally as increasing wickedness and idolatry. Deuteronomy 32, verse 8-9, is one of the most discussed passages in the Hebrew Bible. In the version preserved among the Dead Sea Scrolls and the Greek translation, open quote, when Elion divided the nations, Yahweh's portion was Jacob, close quote. Many scholars see this passage as preserving very ancient Israelite theology. Others understand it differently depending on the manuscript tradition being used. In Genesis 10, Nimrod is described as a mighty ruler associated with the founding of Babylon, Erech, Akkad, other Mesopotamian cities. In the biblical narrative, Babylon later becomes a symbol of organized human pride and rebellion against God.